Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good night, everyone. This is Ferdbird the Nerd with another video game market report. Just looking over some of the past recent sales of some pretty expensive titles this week. I couldn't find any kind of flip ideas, or there might be one out there, pretty premium prices on some modern games from the past, late 90s to up until the PS4 days. Yes, I'm pretty sure everybody knows these titles they're not kind of out the skew, but I was very surprised with some of the prices for these. Raw, graded, CIB, sealed. There was a lot of money curtailing into the video game segment of the market. I'm ending this report with a pretty big, well-known property that I think everybody knows about, especially nowadays with this Amazon show coming out, and it was just a very big curtailer to the possibilities of this video game market increasing in the next couple years versus other collectible categories such as like comic books or sports cards. There's a definite, I wouldn't say FOMO, but nostalgia market play at play here, and people are paying big money for it. So let's see what happens. As kind of the transition to digital occurs. I think you're seeing a lot more of these digital feeds. Plus, the company puts out like a 5,000, 1,000 piece like limited edition type sealed, kind of collectible to deal with or to buy. So you kind of have that physical piece of media to remember that video game that you so much adored. But all these sales are from eBay. These aren't any of my sales. These are just last sold. A lot of these prices are for, especially unless it's a pretty rare video game or collector's edition. These are pretty recent prices for these comic books, or sorry, for these video games. I got my head in other worlds here. So I hope you guys enjoy this. And again, I'll keep doing this show. We haven't had a lot of traction on these videos, but I feel that more the word gets out, click that like button, tell your friends about these video game market reports. I'll keep doing them. Without further ado, let us get into it. I just finished up these slides earlier this morning and had a pretty fun experience going through them. A lot of these games I didn't play. I think I only played about 2 of these games, but I knew about a majority of the first ones coming up here. One interesting thing in comic books that if you don't know is like typically when a show comes out in a comic book, the value of that book skyrockets because of the more eyes and the the assumption that people are going to gravitate towards that comic book because it is now showing to the general public. And I think you'll find that it's starting to kind of come into these video game segments now. I think with comic books, it's just good. It's that kind of play is going to be there for a while, but video games are more. The thing with video games, man, is like you spend more time playing a video game versus reading a comic book, and I feel that extra, charge of nostalgia really hits with video games versus comic books, at least lately. So we'll see. Time will tell, but yeah, let's get into this video game market report for June 14th, 2024. And there's been a lot of news recently about Adventure Time. I believe there's going to be like a new series coming out fairly soon here, and so I was curious that it did hit the comic book route very well, but video games it's this is kind of a tough one because there's several different games of Adventure Time, and this is Adventure Time's a pretty funny. It's a pretty funny cartoon, right? I was kind of old to watch Adventure Time, but I knew of it, and it's kind of quirky. It's a different type of cartoon. It's not your old school 80s style cartoon, but nonetheless, Adventure Time 3DS, which is a system that gets a lot of love lately. I think with Gen Xer, not Gen Xers, sort of the younger millennials, and I would say Gen Z. I'm sorry. Lots of comic book movement so far lately, but $89.99 last sold for this game. I meant to put Gen Z there, but yeah, Adventure Time on the 3DS. I think definitely 3DS games are starting to see a lot of movement as far as the collectability, especially in CIB. Good luck if you can find it sealed, obviously, but the CIBs are actually just picking up pretty good steam. I think this could continue. with more focal point on the different games. Just the more data comes out on video games and what the playability of it was, and being able to download these on like newer systems, people are going to want to get that nostalgia of actually having that physical game and displaying it at their house. Like, oh yeah, I remember this game when I was like 12, that kind of thing. And that's going to really add to the value of video games. What also helps these properties is if there is an actual live show or cartoon or whatnot, it just keeps the fandom going of this particular property. So nonetheless, Adventure Time 3DS Secret of the Nameless, $90, man. That's pretty healthy for a game that came out about almost 20 years ago. Pokemon Red. This is, to some people, this is considered their grail video game. And there's Pokemon Blue, there's Silver, the trilogy, if you will. But man, you're going to pay a lot of money for this game. It's printed to, I think this is one of the more common, trilogy games, but these games were, you could essentially say, like, the pillar for Game Boy video games in general. Game came out in the late 90s. Every little kid wanted it. You played it till, instead of playing basketball, they were playing this on recess. A CIB went for $415, which honestly, I don't think that's a bad deal. The game itself goes for around 60 raw, so that's without the box, without the booklet. So people do like to play this game still. I can't imagine playing this on a old school Nintendo Game Boy, but it's obvious that people still play this. I never really see this game in like secondhand or secondary market video game stores, but I know it's very popular and very sought out. So if you have a copy of it, even without the box and the manual, you can post that bad boy on eBay and get $60 for it. The trilogy series, I saw CIB and yeah, not sealed. CIB went for $1,400. So a lot of love of Pokemon. I couldn't find a lot of graded sales, but I gotta assume that if you think you're gonna flip this, a CIB 415 and get it graded and sell it for double, it's gonna be really tough. A lot of times, obviously, the box is really what's worth it when it comes to grading games or whatever. And I gotta imagine that a lot of those boxes that are probably beat up pretty bad. I'll try and find some more data on graded CIBs and the potential of maybe flipping those candidates, but you're gonna have to put up $400 at least for a CIB. It might just be better to piece these together, but I don't know, man. Collectors are smart, especially for Pokemon. And these are, Pokemon's like one of the top brands of all time. So this is a tough one for people to make some money on. But nonetheless, if you're looking to collect this guy, you got to put $400 for sure. PS2 Kingdom Hearts 2, not the first one, but the second one. Beautiful cover. I just remember seeing this game, and the store is like it's gorgeous. They did a really good game with gameplay was awesome. It was very similar to Final Fantasy, but you had the Disney characters. Very fun game, very very interactive, and a great story to tell as well. It's odd. I feel like this is like a top like 25 to 100 PlayStation game that doesn't get as much love as it should. Maybe that's just me. I just don't hear too much about it, but nonetheless, a 9.8 sold for $800, which I thought was really expensive. I mean, there wasn't that much data to put out there, but it might be just one of those one of ones. And especially it's the second game, it's not the first one. So I didn't see a lot of data for the first game, but people are selling the sealed versions of this, not graded, for about $400. A 9.2 just recently went to auction for $285. So it might be a nice flip if you can find a very inexpensive copy. I know with the PlayStation 2 games, what kind of helps is kind of your tip if you're grading. Take like that, take like a microfiber cloth, and then spray it down with like what do you call it? Like cell phone cleaner. You might use Windex, but that might be like, it comes on pretty wet, but mist it down on your PlayStation covers and just kind of wipe it down real nice. It definitely cleans it up from all that dust, and it doesn't scratch the film that the PlayStations or the PlayStation 2 PlayStation 1, the sealed foil or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't scratch it up too much, which really can hurt your grade on a sealed copy of anything. It's just tough to get 9/8 in those guys, but it helps. So PS2 Kingdom Hearts 2, $7.99 for a 9.8 WATA, not CGC, not VGA, but a WATA version. And just be on the hunt for those guys. We're about 10 minutes in before I get into the next show, or sorry, the next slide. I just want to thank everyone for their support. We're almost at 660 subscribers. We did pass the 2,500 hour mark, so I continue to try and put this stuff out so you guys can support us and keep the show going. But again, I really do appreciate everyone's support on these video game market reports, the comic book market reports, the nameless crew on Tuesdays whenever we can do it, and specifically our Sunday morning crew that we do comic book market reports every Sunday. If you guys could click that like button, I really appreciate it. Tell your people to subscribe, and also watch our past shows. Just keep those streams going, or keep it going in the background. I try and put out as best information as I can. We take a lot of time to do these lists too. So, but again, I do really appreciate your guys' support. This was a really cool one. I just kind of stumbled upon this. I just typed in sealed Wii and did the highest price sold last. I've never heard of this version. I remember this game. I gotta assume that this must have been like one of the last Wii U games. This is a big boy. Yeah, you can't get this. This isn't just a regular video game. This is a deluxe edition, if you will. It's Hyrule Warriors, the limited edition is what they call it. Pretty original. But man, this guy went for almost the price of a console. I gotta find more info on this. And this was not a buy it now. This was auction with, I think, 10 unique bidders on this game. So I gotta imagine, Zelda, not the best game for Zelda, so it doesn't really have that background, but I gotta assume it's one of the last games ever to come out for the Wii U. It's a big boy limited edition. This came out in 2014, so it's about 10 years old. But man, I gotta say, the cover on this is really, really cool. It comes with a lot of stuff in it as well. Like I think there's a shield or something. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I don't know the actual retail of this either. I gotta assume it had to be like $200 to $300. But man, nonetheless, $1,800 for this video game, almost $2,000. It makes me kind of think like, would you rather grade a VGA console or something like this? I think I'd go after something like this instead. Pretty cool though. Very strong sale. Like I said, like there's a lot of grails in this list. I think for some people, if you're going through the list or fast forwarding or whatever, like you're gonna see, oh shoot, yeah, I remember wanting that game when I was a kid, or oh, I never knew of that version of this game. I want that. But a lot of people wanted this sealed Hyrule Warriors Warriors limited edition version of the box or whatever. So really cool video game setup there. And I'm assuming this has to be somebody's. It's not Excalibur $18 variant, that's for sure. I forgot to delete that. But this is the Game Boy Silver version, Game Boy Color, silver version. 9.8 WATA just sold for $6,000. Holy cow, that's crazy. Actually, let me just double check that. Game Boy Silver Pokemon WATA. Okay, let me just double check, because I swear it's Game Boy Color, but for some reason I'm kind of freaking out here a little bit. But okay, Game Boy Silver. Okay, share this tab. Huh. That's weird. Okay. Oh, lowest. My bad. That's fine. Okay, so it is the Game Boy Color version. Yeah. See there, $6,000. This is. Oh, that's the actual console. Wow. That's nuts. It's like, wow, 2025 for, and this is kind of an older, right? This is an older sale because this is in April and we're now in June, obviously. But yeah, this Pokemon Silver version, it obviously came out on Game Boy Color, which I feel like I should do more info or do more research on Game Boy Color video games because it's definitely that Gen X crowd, Gen Z crowd. Gosh, I keep messing that up. And kind of a mix of millennials, like those younger millennials. And Game Boy Color is like, I think it'd be cool to if you had a CIB Game Boy Color to grade that and see how much that goes for. A 9.2 sold for 2,600 best offer. I think this is like, if you're a Game Boy Color like fan, or I mean a Pokemon fan, you're gonna want this. This is a grail for sure, and it's really expensive. It'd be really risky to get, I think, a CIB and try and grade it and make, I don't know. Oh man, I love this as definitely not like a flip, but like a long term hold over time. I think it's gonna. I think with with more Pokemon games coming out, this is gonna be like, oh man, remember that? It'd be like, to me, it'd be like getting Zelda for Super Nintendo. That's kind of like the analogy I have for it. So this was a really cool cover that just stood out to me. The cover art on video games is really great. I mean, I think the potential to be like, oh, what are the best video game covers like ever versus like, that's very niche, right? But this, when I saw this cover for PS3 Japan Biohazard, so I think this is, I don't know if this is like a revamp on PS1 of the original Resident Evil game, but nonetheless, this, and it's a different box, man. I remember PS3s. I mean, they came out like, just they didn't come in a box. They came out like in a, like not the jewel case, but the PS3 cases. So this is very like high quality. You're gonna get this from Japan. 181 bucks, and these, there's a couple sales for this. There's listings for this for 181. So I think if you're an import hog, or if you just dig the art for Resident Evil, you got to get this for 181 bucks. There's another version that goes for 720 that comes with an additional like accessory of some sort. But man, I thought for 181, just for the art alone, I mean, like, to me, this should be like a 1 in 100 comic book cover. But I think if you get this from Japan, you're going to get it in a very nice, package. You're going to get it in a very, very clean way. It's going to be sealed, all that stuff. So, yeah, 181 bucks for this. I'm not mad at this. I'll probably keep this on my watch list just to see if the market goes one way or the other. But definitely something that, if you are a fan of Resident Evil, if you're a fan of Japanese culture and Japanese style video games, or import video games in general, you may want to look into this. If you're going to grade this, I'd probably send this to VGA. I'd want to see it in my hand to see what grading company I'd want to go to. The thing with me with VGA and CGC is that CGC is just cheaper and they're a little bit faster. And I think it just looks better to my eye in itself. But VGA, it's like 20 bucks more per item. I'm not mad at that because I feel that VGA's grading scale, it's more likely to get like better grades that sell for more. I still got to look at the market though. But VGA has a different scale. So it just really, I think, depends on what you prefer. I think if you're going to flip something, it's probably better to go CGC. If you think you have a unique item or something that you just can't grade at CGC as of right now, it's better to go VGA. I'm just biased against WADA just because all the stuff that's come out about them so far. And I don't really enjoy the way that the system or the gaming system looks. I just think it looks bulky. I don't like the look of it. I think VGA is a lot better. It doesn't VGA. What's cool about VGA is it doesn't really mess with like the actual presentation of the game. I just, and teach his own. I'm just not a WADA fan when it comes to grading. On to the next. So I'm sure everyone knows about Halo, but this is the Halo 2 first print. Arguably the marquee game for Xbox. I mean, put Xbox on the planet. I remember, it's funny, people talk about online streaming and whatnot. I remember my fraternity days. I didn't play this game a lot, but we would plug in like 4 different PlayStations, like with extension cords at people's rooms, and we'd play this game. We play Halo because you could connect the boxes, and it was like the biggest deal to us college kids. I always hop on that big truck and I just like run over people or just shoot it, and everyone would get pissed off at me. But Halo is a great game. It's and arguably could have. I think at the time, SOCOM was the other big game you could play, but arguably this kind of spawned the whole first person shooter online versus kind of you know um, culture that we're in today, like with Modern Warfare and Valorant, what is it, Fortnite, many other first person shooters. But I thought this was very interesting to see because it's not the first game and the art's really cool on this. Now, when I was looking at auctions that indicated a first print, I don't know enough about Xbox games to advise like, oh, this is a first print versus a second print. I think Vinny's a lot better at that than me, obviously. But sealed 9.8, I think this was WADA went for 1,500. For me, this is kind of tough because it's like this had to have been like a highly printed game just because of the anticipation of a new Halo game, a new marquee, title to the Xbox. So I don't know. I know personally, like when you have like when you're looking to invest or display video games, you always want to go to the PlayStation version versus an Xbox version. Obviously, with Xbox, um, you only have one choice in the system. So this is why I think it's a safer bet to maybe try and flip or try and invest into it. But 1,500 for a 9.8 of a highly printed game just seemed a little off to me. I may be just a little bit too conservative on that regard, or just not really into Xbox games. But I will say this though, it is Halo. It's the second Halo, and you have a lot of people that used to play Halo from back in the day. I wasn't one of them, but I was kind of the minority. I was more into Final Fantasy, and I was more into like strategy games. So, but 9/10 of my fraternity was into playing Halo. We skipped a lot of classes playing Halo, and all that. So, nonetheless, if you are trying to get the nostalgia bug, Halo 2 first print at 98, you're gonna pay a lot of money for it. On to the next. This is our second to last one. And I thought this was just kind of a weird, or not weird, kind of I don't know, PS4 is starting to, it's tough for me at PS4s because I feel like PS4 was kind of the start of where people started to really download video games kind of near the end of the PS4 phase. My nephew, I mean, he doesn't have a single, he hasn't bought a single physical game. He's either been given physical games or he downloads them on his Xbox, or sorry, PS4 that he plays. This little dude even bought more storage for his PlayStation, which I thought was crazy. But nonetheless, I mean, $600 for a 9.8, that's really good. I remember this game wasn't like, at least from my perspective, and maybe I was just growing out of video games in this genre back in the day, or just I wasn't into this style of like a video game, but I don't remember this being like an extremely popular game. But it's medieval, it's blood, it's gore, it's got a good storyline. So perhaps maybe I was wrong. It's a great game. I'm definitely surprised. At $600 for a 9.8 is pretty crazy. However, if you are looking for a sealed version of this, it's around $89. So I don't know what the print run on this guy is. It's really hard to get those numbers for video games in general. But yeah, Bloodborne PS4 for a 9.8 went for $600. Happy hunting, everybody. All right, and last but not least, I just want to thank everyone for your support. Almost 25 minutes into the show, I'm gonna try and make these a little shorter so people can actually like just kind of play in the background and maybe not be dissuaded from viewing it because it's a 2-hour freaking stream on YouTube. But yeah, again, thanks for your support. Hit that like button. Tell your friends to subscribe to the channel if they're into comic books, video games, or anything collectible. We talk about all of it, and specifically we do specifically the comic book stuff, but I want to get more into video games. I think that's a segment that I want to hit more than any other one too. So, but Xbox Power Armor, the Power Armor Edition from Fallout. Now this show has caught fire from Amazon. Amazon does a really good job with adapting these, sci-fi type of storylines to live action. But this comes with a helmet and a pack, and it looks like it comes with, I feel like it gives out the locations for all the power armor deals throughout the game. which I thought was really cool. So you can actually use this. 4 grand for this Grail. I feel like when I did Fallout highest priced, this was a one. There was several bids on this Grail of a beast of a collectible for Fallout, and again, I think what Fallout has done for me is it makes me want to play the original game. However, I don't know which game to get. So I think you can just basically go on and get whatever you want. But I thought that was really strong. I mean, I think this is where you're seeing like if I wouldn't necessarily like spec like we do on comic books with video games. I would probably see like, okay, let's wait till this video game property has a couple episodes, see how the public reacts to it, and then perhaps kind of catch the wave as it keeps going. Because if we use spec on, let's say, Fallout prior to the show coming out and it just tanks, it's a bad thing to hold on to, and that's a lot of money to put into a video game or special edition, whatever. Um, However, I think that video game collectors are kind of they're not as seasoned as us comic book collectors. So they're kind of the same mode. If it hits after the second or third episode, and I think it's a good idea to start buying sealed copies of whatever, maybe do a little more research and see which ones are like the more sought out after ones. Yeah, you're not going to be paying $3.99 for, whatever, but instead of holding on to kindling for your, nightly fireplace, you're holding on to some gold there and riding that wave along with the popularity of that show or what have you. So, just a little food for thought there. Well, that's the list for June 14th, 2024. Again, I want to thank everyone for watching the channel and supporting the Ferdbird the Nerd network, if you will. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a great end to your week and happy hunting.